fakes Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Beat the back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards. Big run in the Peach Bowl. This is a big one, too. And it's going to go all the way to the house on the first play from scrimmage.
Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network. Welcome in, everybody, to a fresh edition of the show. We are presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can wager on the Bearcats football team to win the Big 12 coming off of their second and final bye week of the 2025 season. Cincinnati currently holds 10-1 odds, plus 1,000 odds on the FanDuel Sportsbook to win the Big 12. Texas Tech, a massive favorite now after their drubbing of BYU. They are minus 280 to win the Big 12. BYU sitting there at 5-1, and Cincinnati right there with the third best odds at 10-1 on FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can refer a friend and get a bonus back as a reward. So many different ways to win with FanDuel Sportsbook. Make them your sports betting choice this week and beyond. Head to FanDuel Sportsbook to set up your accounts or continue wagering with America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel Sportsbook, great presenting sponsor of Bearcat Blitz, where I'm your host, Russ Heltman, joined very shortly by my co-host, Neil Meyer. We're going to recap the Cincinnati Bearcats basketball win last week to get to 2-0 on the season, 74-64 win over Georgia State. A lot different, a lot worse of a performance outside of everybody besides Baba Miller in this one compared to their big, dominant 94-63 season opening win against, who was that? Western Carolina last week to start the season. We will preview the Dayton matchup, a top 50 opponent, the first one on the schedule for Cincinnati on Tuesday night inside of Fifth Third Arena. We'll get to the Arizona football matchup as well. Cincinnati a slight betting favorite there as they try to continue their winning ways at home this season. Cincinnati has only lost away from Nippert Stadium in 2025. They're going to try to continue that this weekend, and we will close the show out with that look at Arizona and kind of look at the Big 12 title path. What does Cincinnati have to do to win the Big 12 on the football field? All that and more coming up after these messages on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Neil, 74-64 win for the Bearcats over Georgia State on the hardwood Friday night. This was not an encouraging performance, to say the least, by this Bearcats team. We're 30-point favorites entering the game on the betting line, and they didn't come close to covering the first half or not even close to the second half spread, as they only beat a team projected to be among the bottom 50 outfits in the entire country on KenPom by 1 point in the second half. Only beat Georgia State 74-64 overall and 35-34 in the second frame. Baba Miller, Neil, became the first Bearcat since 1997 to post back-to-back double-doubles to open their UC careers and open a UC season. 24 points on 9 shots from him. He has been the lead offensive piece for Cincinnati so far. 7 of 10 from the free throw line. But outside of Baba, Neil, the rest of Cincinnati needs to kind of try to keep pace with him in terms of their production.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you look at in terms of production, I thought Baba Miller looked fantastic on Friday night after watching the reruns. Obviously, I wasn't there in attendance, but Russ, I mean, he's been everything as advertised for Cincinnati. And the biggest thing is his ability to create for himself at 7 feet tall, to go and drive to the basket, to be a guy who can handle the ball, who can do so many different things for this team. That's what makes his presence go for Cincinnati. And for me right now, when you're looking at this roster with Jalen Haynes hurt, Russ, I don't think there's any two people on this team that are more important than Baba Miller and Sincere Harris. And both of those provide a lot of different things. Baba Miller, we have seen flashes for it, but Sincere Harris provides something on the defensive end that your team needs. He has that grit, that competitiveness. But for Cincinnati, Baba Miller, man, he's been fun to watch. He's been as advertised. I mean, Russ, I thought Friday night was probably his best showing after rewatching the film. 8 of 9 shooting, 7 of 10 from the foul line, 11 rebounds, 1 offensive rebound, 10 defensive rebounds, and 3 blocks, 24 points. I mean, that's what you were expecting from him since coming to Cincinnati, and now you look, and man, he's exciting to watch. He really is, and Cincinnati's going to need him, uh, just about to do anything for this team in order for them to have this success. But like you mentioned, was kind of a slow start. Obviously, this game was probably a little bit closer than Wes Miller would have liked. However, they get the job done. They go to 2-0, but they now have a big one ahead of them looming Tuesday night versus Dayton.
Oh yeah, massive game on Tuesday in the Twyman Stokes Classic, getting that rolling again in the Cincinnati Bearcats basketball schedule. Dayton struggled as well in their last game, only beating UMBC 77-71. So Neil, kind of two teams that are profiling similarly, playing similarly to start this season, and Cincinnati enters this game ranked 40th in KenPom, going up against a Dayton team that is sitting at 60th on KenPom, a 70% chance to win this game, Neil, according to ESPN's matchup predictor, in favor of the Bearcats, and a guy they're going to have to shut down in a task that they have not done well in the Wes Miller era, despite having great defenses, of shutting down top high-scoring players on the other side of the court for opposing teams. Javon Bennett, 18 points, 4.5 assists. He's a dynamo scoring guard and a guy that they're going to have to try to contain, and a guy that doesn't really rely on his shot a lot, can get to the free throw line and can really make you pay with some physical down the lane actions. So I'm imagining Sincere Harris going to be tasked with shutting down the top scorer for Dayton, and a task that I'm sure the Cincinnati Bearcats staff feels more comfortable with being able to accomplish this year, considering they didn't really have that backcourt perimeter stopper last season at close to the same level that we've seen so far in Sincere Harris, who has, I think, 5 steals through 2 games, has been getting to the free throw line at will. And Neil, thankfully, hey, healthy, good to go. Cincinnati, outside of Jalen Haynes, has no other injury issues to worry about entering this game. And Sincere Harris is going to have his hands full with Javon Bennett, and that's going to be, I'm surely tracking entering this game to be the matchup to watch individually on the court.
Yeah, absolutely. And Russ, when you look down at Sincere Harris, he has 5 steals on the season, and like you mentioned, he's probably going to be the guy on Javon Bennett tomorrow night, which that matchup will be fun to watch. It really will. But Russ, I think the biggest importance was for Cincinnati, health-wise, that Sincere Harris came away unscathed after the injury scare versus Western Carolina. I think that was huge. For him to be able to go out there on Friday night and still give valuable minutes for Cincinnati was huge. And that is a great sign for Cincinnati, because they're going to need just about everybody down the stretch. But like I mentioned earlier in the show, I think Sincere Harris and Baba Miller is going to be the 2 guys that make this team go. And if something happened, it could kind of be like the situation we saw last season potentially, where guys are trying to find new roles and whatnot. But those 2 guys, I think, despite what they do in the stat sheets, they just provide so much more for Cincinnati. They do all the little things. So that's what Cincinnati's going to need. But Russ, tomorrow, like you mentioned, it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be the first actual opponent and test for Cincinnati, right? Dayton, everybody knows, is a close rivalry matchup, but this is the first time it's been played at Fifth Third Arena, and I can't even remember how long. I would have to check the game notes.
It's got to be at least 15 years.
Yeah. So the first time you have this opportunity here, the last 2 years have been on a neutral site, which I'm not a fan of where we have been playing our neutral sites at Heritage Bank Center, but
Get to go back there in a couple of weeks, Neil.
yep, we're going
Giddy up,
back in
baby.
a couple of weeks. So overall, for me to come back here and have this opportunity at Fifth Third Arena tomorrow, Russ, I'm expecting Fifth Third to be jumping tomorrow. Like, I'm expecting us to really be feeling a college basketball environment tomorrow night. I'm talking 14,000 in there, packed out, having a great time on a Tuesday night. I don't know what other things kids would be doing on campus, but I'd expect them to be at Fifth Third Arena tomorrow. So I'm excited, man. It's going to be a big challenge. Now it's going to be a challenge where Russ, you and I had Cincinnati arguably looking at this non-conference slate where they could go 11-2, 12-1 heading into conference play. Tomorrow's the start of that. So
Right.
will they live up to those expectations? It's a good possibility, but there's a lot at stake for tomorrow night at Fifth Third Arena.
74 points for the Bearcats on Friday night, but Neil, they were high pace once again. They had more
Mm.
possessions in this game than they did with a top 10 national mark in game one. 80 possessions against Western Carolina. I believe they were near 90 possessions in this game when you factor in 62 field goals, 20 or 13 trips to the free throw line, and another 16 turnovers. That number you want to clean up, but obviously there are going to be growing pains. And as Wes Miller mentioned in his press conference on Monday night, or it's Friday night, Neil, it's no surprise, it's probably no coincidence that you started off with two bottom third nationally teams in Western Carolina and Georgia State. Get your feet wet a little bit, get the offensive tendencies underneath you a little bit. This is still a completely brand new group, but I'm expecting a much better performance on Tuesday night. And this is going to really show me how well this coaching staff can adjust on the fly in a short amount of time to be able to see how much of these issues they clean up over the next few days, how much of these turnover issues they have down pat. But overall, I mean, I think Cincinnati deserved, in terms of the health of their offensive possessions in this game, to score at least 80 points. You're not going to shoot 22.6% from deep on the shot diet that they got very often. There were a lot of wide open threes, namely for Jordi Rodriguez and Kirk Kriisa, who went 1 for 11 from deep in this game. So I'd expect to bounce back from those guys shooting wise, and I would be shocked if this team is once again consistently a poor 3-point shooting team like many of Wes Miller's outfits have been. They recruited and built this roster to be able to shoot much better, and I expect that to happen on Tuesday night. And very interesting dichotomy here between Dayton and UC, Neil. The Bearcats, obviously one of the highest paced teams in the country, still just 119th nationally in adjusted tempo, given their opponents they faced have been trying to slow them down on the other side over the first two games. Dayton's going to try to do that wholeheartedly. 352nd nationally in adjusted tempo are the Dayton Flyers. They're going to try to squeeze all the possessions out of this game, Neil, add more variance to this game as an underdog, and try to kind of muck this game up with the slow possession progression rate. It's going to be an interesting test for Cincinnati as they try to run against Dayton, and the Flyers try to grind this game down. I think Cincinnati gets the job done, but it's going to be a nail biter, in my opinion. I might be rewriting this game story multiple times in the final 15 minutes or so of action. Give me the Bearcats 69-68 over the Dayton Flyers in a little bit of a rock fight, slowed up game that the Bearcats end up taking. What do you got, Neil, for this prediction?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't think it's going to be as close as what you think it's going to be, but I think it is going to be a slower kind of tempo game for Cincinnati per se. When you look at this Dayton team and what they've been able to do in years past, this isn't a Dayton team that's going to go out and push the tempo. That's just not who Anthony Grant coaches his style of play. It's not. He likes to wear teams down, be a good defensive team, and loves to be in those contests where they score just 65 to 70 points per se. So for me, I'm really going to be curious, Russ. Does Cincinnati come out and push the tempo? And if they do that, I think this could be a game where they come out and they punch Dayton in the mouth and go up by 10, 12 points early. And if they're able to do that, I think Cincinnati wholeheartedly wins this game by double digits. But you can never go out there into these rivalry matchups and think that's going to be the expectation, because no matter what, we all know, no matter your lead in college athletics, it's never safe. So, per se, in a rivalry matchup like this, I do think it's going to be close, but give me 74-68 in favor of the Bearcats here. And I think Baba Miller goes for his third straight 20-point performance.
Baba, really, really impactful start for him so far. He seems like a really fun, cool dude, and a guy Bearcats fans are going to learn to love if they don't already love him. so far as the leading scorer for the Cincinnati Bearcats. New look basketball team in the 2025-26 season. Only 3 games left for the Cincinnati Bearcats football team on their path to a surprise berth in the Big 12 championship game, and maybe a complete surprise win if they're able to pull off that feat in a little bit less than a month. We're going to get to the path to get there and look at their projected betting line on FanDuel Sportsbook against Arizona coming up in just a few moments. Speaking of FanDuel Sportsbook, we are presented by FanDuel, where you can bet on the Cincinnati Bearcats football team to win its latest home matchup against Arizona, as 4.5 point, or excuse me, jumped all the way to 6.5 points on the betting line. It has steamed up from 4.5 points at the open yesterday morning, on Sunday morning, all the way up to 6.5 points as we record this podcast on Monday morning. So betting public flocking to Cincinnati, who is now a minus 220 favorite on the money line to get the win overall, with a point total sitting at 56.5. That game kicking off at noon Eastern on Saturday. Head to FanDuel Sportsbook to make your wager if you think the Bearcats are going to win by margin against Noah Fifita and the Arizona Wildcats. FanDuel Sportsbook, great presenting sponsor of Bearcat Blitz. More of the Blitz action coming your way after these messages. Tying a bow on our latest episode of Bearcat Blitz here, Neil. Cincinnati Bearcats football back at it after their bye week. Likely, we'll see. We don't really know right now. I'm imagining we'll see Evan Pryor back in action this week. We'll see how that ankle has responded over the bye week. He obviously didn't get much work in ahead of the Utah game, so giving him a few weeks off to rest that ankle, and hopefully for Bearcats fans, a fully loaded arsenal of weapons for Brendan Sorsby and his squad to attack the rest of the slate with. Ranked number 22 nationally now on the coaches and AP poll, a 3-spot jump up despite not playing any games because of all the carnage in the AP poll over the weekend. And Neil, now in a favorite role against Arizona, they've moved from 4.5 point favorites to 6.5 point favorites. They're 68% overall favorite on ESPN's Football Power Index to win this game at Nippert Stadium and beat the Arizona Wildcats, who are playing pretty good football as of late. They've won 3 of their past 5 games, 2 in a row, including a 52-17 win over Colorado and a 24-20 win over Kansas. They're bringing a very good passing attack to the table, led by Noah Fifita, who's got 23 touchdowns, 4 interceptions this season. Neil, if UC's not careful, Arizona could come in here and shake up and put a complete spoiling on this entire magical run so far for the Bearcats. This is a very losable game for this team. Arizona, I'm sure, is going to be playing with nothing to lose and ready to be the spoiler this weekend.
Yeah, and it's a good point to mention too, Russ, because Arizona has that high-powered offense, and Noah Fifita is gonna throw the ball around the yard.
Right.
He's made that clear over his college career. We've watched it with Tetiora McMillan the last few seasons. We know he's going to sling the rock. Everybody knows that. But like you mentioned, this is an Arizona team. I mean, Russ, they could come in here and play spoiler. They really could. And this is the opportunity for Cincinnati to sit down and say, how do we respond after the drugging at Utah? Right? You had the bye week. You have an opportunity to get healthy, but how do they respond with everything on the line for them right now? And it starts with Saturday. Because, Russ, if you look at this schedule for Cincinnati, Arizona, BYU, TCU, if things go well and Cincinnati goes 3-0 in the final 3 games here over the next month, there's a good chance they're playing for a Big 12 championship with a trip to Dallas on the line.
No, that's not a chance. It's
It
factual.
will be the chance.
If you win out, you will be going to Arlington. There is no
with the
there
chance
is no
for the
tiebreaker in
CFP.
play, and that's their scenario. But if you lose to BYU, that's when things get hairy. That's when you need a loss by Utah to have any chance down the stretch of making the college football playoff. Or if you lose to Arizona, same thing. You have to beat BYU. You start getting into these hairy scenarios and any 2-1 finish.
Yeah. And for Cincinnati, like we talk about, I mean, Russ, you and I talked about it all season, and hopefully people listened to us back in August when we said take the over on the wins here, and hopefully you cashed your ticket over at FanDuel Sportsbook for that. But Russ, if I'm sitting right now, there's still a good chance. Like, I haven't looked at the FanDuel lines in a couple days, but I would maybe consider messing around with that line for Cincinnati to find their way to a Big 12 championship if that option is available. Because right now, Russ, you have a full week to get healthy. I would hope we see Evan Pryor on Saturday, like you mentioned. But Russ, the biggest thing for Cincinnati is Arizona is going to have to come in here and get adjusted to the time for a noon kickoff game, right? Being what I believe they're 2, 3 hours behind us, and then coming in here and getting the
Yeah, I think
time
it's
difference.
two. I don't think I'm pretty sure all the furthest west is 2 hours of any Big
Yeah,
12 team.
but for 2 hours behind them, that's essentially a 10 a.m. kickoff for them. And in Cincinnati right now, Russ, where you look outside and there's a whole bunch of snow on the ground, and then you look again on Saturday, as I check the weather and what it's supposed to be for game day on Saturday, it's supposed to be a high of 70. So it's going to be interesting to see what
Wish
might
that
come.
weather was happening on Saturday and not right now if you're a
Yeah,
Bearcats fan.
right. I
But
mean, that's Cincinnati weather, but on top of it, you look down, Russ. I mean, I expect Nippert Stadium to be jam-packed on Saturday. Jam-packed. And on top of it, I expect Cincinnati to come out and try and make a statement early on both sides of the ball. Physical, relentless, gutsy. They're going to be making plays. They're going to try to come make it known that this is their time to get to Dallas for the Big 12 championship, and that, like you mentioned, Russ, they have not lost at Nippert Stadium this season, and we have seen all throughout this season and how much they have preached defend the nip, defend the nip, defend the nip, and they now have a big opportunity on Saturday, and they have two big opportunities essentially looming ahead of them. Russ, if Cincinnati could finish a near perfect at home or perfect at home, things are looking great for them and Scott Satterfield heading into the back or the early half of December. So it starts on Saturday, but it's going to be this is a game where Russ, you look down, this could be a trap game. Safe to say it.
yeah, 6.5 points is a lot of points against this
Yeah.
Arizona team. This is a very, very solid Arizona team with a top 6 quarterback in the Big 12. Anytime you get that, I don't care where the game's being played, they are a live outfit. And it just the numbers bear this out. When you look at CFBgraphs.com, they don't agree with a 6.5 point spread. They have the Bearcats winning with a projected 27.6 points to Arizona's 25.04 points. And Arizona, very solid this season, top to bottom. They've got the number one field position offense in the entire country, 37th in EPA per rush on offense, 39th in quality drive rate. That's not what you want to see going up against the Bearcats defense that just hemorrhages first downs, hemorrhages quality drives at the 107th best rate nationally, or 107th being one of the bottom 30 in the entire country. I mean, this is a tough, tough matchup for the Bearcats, and especially when you think about this offense and what they can do with Noah Fifita through the air. It's going to be a challenge, to say the least, for the Cincinnati Bearcats defense to be able to contain Arizona enough to get the win here. We'll see who we end up picking later on in the week, as we'll save the full scale preview for the Thursday episode. But as we stand here today, Neil, kind of tying a bow on this episode, Texas Tech, they're going to likely be in the Big 12 championship game. One
Yep.
half of the Big 12 championship is basically up and called for at this point. Texas Tech enters a bye week as we currently speak. And then they have UCF and West Virginia, two of the bottom tier teams in the entire conference, two of the 4 bottom teams in the Big 12 with a combined 3 total conference wins. One on the road, one at home. I would be stunned if Texas Tech loses at all down the stretch here in these final 2 games. And then you got BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and Utah at 4-2, plus Arizona State at 4-2 as well. Cincinnati, with 1 loss, starts to need teams to lose as well, namely Utah. If Cincinnati loses 1 game, and that is either the BYU game or the Arizona game, they're going to need an additional team to lose and finish 2-1 overall to be able to make it as the opponent against Texas Tech in Arlington. But as we mentioned, you win out, you're in. Win out, you're in at 8-1 overall in the conference. If you finish at 7-2, that's where things start to get dicey with all those other teams sitting with 2 losses and BYU only with 1 loss in conference. That would become a definitive must-win game to go to the conference championship game. Neil, there aren't many scenarios where Cincinnati can make the Big 12 title game going 1-2 down the stretch, so we won't even dive into those. It's need 2 wins at minimum to have a chance for realistically, and your chances are in your hands and sealed if you win all 3 of these final games over the next 3 weeks. This is why we do it. This is why we cover it, to get to this point, to get to this stretch, and we'll see if the Bearcats can be the prince that was promised, so to speak, and go after that Big 12 throne in Arlington in just a few weeks' time. For Neil Meyer, I'm Russ Eltman. This has been Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. We back to recap the Dayton action, get you ready for the Bearcats' next basketball contest over the weekend, and we will give you the full preview of Arizona coming up on the next edition of Bearcat Blitz. Stick with us through that, and enjoy your Monday, everybody. Try to stay warm out there.
6, Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards. Big one in the Peach Bowl. This is a big one too. And it's going to go all the way to the house on the first